We actually have a life change story, but I asked if I could take some time to set that up because I am so excited about this story, and it really needs a little context, or for me, I think it'd be helpful for you to have a little context to understand a little bit more of the story that you're going to hear from Juanita Pacheco. And so this is how this story starts. It starts with an idea that Carrie Sanders had, who's one of our members at our Travelers Rest campus, who we share as a staff person. He's part-time with us, and then he is full-time with JUMPSTART, one of our ministry partners that you see the slide up for here. And what JUMPSTART is doing is sharing the gospel with and discipling believers who are on the inside of our Department of Corrections. So they're inmates. They've been convicted. And they are living in prison without freedom, and JUMPSTART is working in that field, and I think of Carrie as being our missionary within the South Carolina Department of Corrections. And so Carrie had this idea where he wanted to capture 30 stories of inmates whose lives had been changed because they'd encountered the gospel through the ministry of JUMPSTART. They had been discipled. They had graduated, which means they had gotten out and come to the outside program and then graduated from that and are reintegrated into the life of the church on the outside of the Department of Corrections and are living as disciples of Jesus out here with the rest of us. And so Carrie wanted to capture those stories, so he had a couple of interns for the summer who would interview. And Morgan Hines, who's a part of our church and a college girl, and then Juanita Pacheco joined her in that work. We're doing those interviews, and we have about 10 of our members who are writing those devotions, and then in partnership with the South Carolina Baptist Convention, all of that's being put into a book, and it's going to be distributed to every inmate in the state of South Carolina. But the really cool thing in all of that is that how life change begets life change. And so there's this missional thing that's going on that's involving all of these folks who are part of our church and another organization, the South Carolina Baptist, we're gonna see people come to faith through this project. But what we're doing as a church, and this is the cool thing, is we're just making disciples. And so Juanita's story helps illustrate that because she hears the idea that her faith needs to not just be about ideas, but it needs to be about action and experiential. And when God shut down her plans for the summer through COVID-19, this is how she got redeployed to something that changed her life. So I just want you to see her story and hear her story with all of that backstory. So give this a listen.
Our faith needs to be experiential, and we have to put it in practice. It can't just be this idea that sits in our head and that's the end of it. And it was for sure something that the internship with JUMPSTART was a way to do that, was a way to just, I have all these resources and tools and talents, but there's always going to be like a little gap, and then seeing how the Lord really just filled that up where I just was lacking, made it experiential and made it something that was impactful, not just to like everyone that I worked with, but to me and my heart too. We're never defined by the worst thing we've ever done. We're all better than the worst thing we've ever done or thought or been a part of. And that was just really evident in talking to these men and women who, all of them would own up to it. They've said, I've made some really horrible choices that hurt a lot of people. But just to see that they themselves are so much more than their mistakes, and how much grace and mercy they've received from the Lord and from others. And it just kind of really resonated, like, I need that same amount of grace and mercy. I need that same amount of love and acceptance. And thankfully, Jesus is the one that has given that to all of us. It really took the fear out of the word like prisoner for me, or like inmate or something like that, because, you see all these headlines and how they make these people out to be, horrible, horrible people, like the worst people of society, and how prisoners are just shut out and they're scary, and, you don't want to be associated with them. But I think I really learned the value in being proximate to these people, and to see, when you get close to the brokenness and close to the hard stories and close to the mistakes and close to the sin, you really find Jesus like all the more there. So that was really encouraging for me too, to see, at the end of the day, we're here to be close to these people just like Jesus was close to these people. I think it's really telling of how we see our faith and how we see the Lord with our lives and what we do with our time. If we really are bought into this idea that nothing is ours and everything is freely given, then we're not going to have an issue just freely giving to others.
So with all of that context, hopefully that story's an encouragement to you. I felt like it deserved it, because I feel like we all need a little bit of encouragement to be reminded that God is at work and He's doing cool things in our world, in and through us, and sometimes in spite of us.